out the touring Koreans in 2 games. The Oceania qualifying series for the Olympics tips off on the 18th of this month, and Barry Barnes' roster looks strong, whoever he picks. Club-wise, the story of the week was Sydney, where coach Bob Turner offered to resign after their double road loss against previously winless clubs Townsville and Gold Coast.
We've had talks with the team, and we need to make sure that they're positive and going forward, because we're very tentative right now, and on the court no one wants to really take charge and lead, and we've had our share of injuries and things like that, but it's really just the tentativeness of the players that we're just not going at it the way we normally do.
The players refused to accept Turner's offer, so did management. The Magic have been hampered by the Boomers' commitments. Ronaldson, Dorge and McKinnon unavailable during the week, but all were fit and well for last night's game. Strangest story of the week was Rob Rose, cited to appear before a State League tribunal, charged with swearing in a match between his local club Forestville and West Adelaide. The funny thing was, Mike Dunlap had banned his team from playing State League this week. Rose was just sitting on the bench. Any punishment, though, will not affect his NBL status. Meantime, last night's match against the Kings was Mark Davis's last as an import. Jojo English steps in next week, and the word around the league is the season is as good as over. Jojo is going to lead the 36ers all the way to the title. After a warm-up last weekend on the road, David Stiff is ready to really fire for the Hobart Devils. His 2 years at Boston University will add valuable experience for the club.
I think fundamentally, I think I'll be a better player. As far as game experience, I got a lot of court time in Boston, so well, we'll soon find out if the experiment works.
And this is why. They say Joey Wright hasn't got any pace. Well, step right up. Adelaide's on the rise, and so is Brett Maher. Hallelujah.
That was full of confidence.
Clarence Tyson gave Leon Trimmingham a taste of his own at the Furnace. And here's the Suns with some super transition, and guess who's there? Steve Woodbury. What can we say? Rookie play of the week, Justin Yerbury of the Hawks, rubbing it in to the hapless Hobart. Tony Ronaldson, just magic. But the perfect play has a few imperfections, like Chris Gent's between the legs pass to Sam, who looks ready to slam.
Great hands! McDonald was sensational!
Shooting stars, and this bloke's becoming a regular. Chris Gent's third quarter blitz against the Magic may not have won the game, but it was sweet. For our snapshots, how about this for a spin move? Wildcats fans are dizzy with excitement these days, but the master of mischief steals the show again. The Croc gave the Lion a pounding at the Furnace and finished with certainly the best low post move of the year. Let's finish now with some dazzling dunks. Jeff Arnold was everywhere against the Bullets, mopping up the misses and sweeping the alley-oops. A game-busting steal and a fast break from Rob Rose.
Go all the way.
Likewise, Derek Rucker.
On the steal.
And JC with a little help from Anthony Stewart in the middle.
Got it to Stewart now. Goes inside to...
This time off the graceful assist. But the dunk of the week came from Long John Dorge. Sit back and just enjoy.
Oh, great play!
We're in the top 8, and they lead the NBL in three-point shooting percentage. For the Gold Coast Rollers, well, perhaps not so good. They're only 1 from 5, although they do score a lot of points, a lot more than the Falcons, and they have a very high field goal shooting percentage as well. And that one win has come against the Sydney Kings last weekend by about 40 points. So they're buoyant, but that record does speak against them slightly tonight. So, Roger White, how do you think it's going to go?
Well, Terry, if you'd asked me the same question last week, I would have said a comprehensive Falcons victory, but the Gold Coast Rollers were very convincing in their victory over the Sydney Kings last week, the biggest score they've ever notched in the NBL, and this should be a fantastic match.
All right, let's have a look at the teams, and here's the starting fives. Sean Dennis in number 4 for the Falcons, playing his 150th game tonight. Michael Johnson, it's a memorial year
That tonight.
Well, he may not have the most blocks, but he certainly got one of the best I've seen in a long time. That was a ripper.
Sean just not able to get that one down. An impressive start already by Sean Dennis in game 150 for the Falcons. Fred Herzog, deficient passing effort by the Falcons. Dished it off eventually Reggie Smith, and he just hammered that basket.
That is one of the great dunks. Look at that. He dunks all over them. Peter Hill goes for the 3, couldn't make it. and the Falcons couldn't come up with the rebound. And look at that, D'Ambrosis has been found free under the bucket, and the dunk. Reggie Smith is powering his way through this game.
Reggie Smith's so powerful at both ends of the court, but not only that, but for a huge man, he has such a deft touch. Tony D'Ambrosis
Hit the lead.
Reggie holding his back, a little bit of back pain there. He does have a back problem. Trevor Torrance with the long bomb puts the Rollers back out in front, 42-40, 8-12 left on the clock in the second term.
Reggie Smith obviously has very good offensive skills, particularly right under the basket, but his rebounding is a real asset to the Falcons. There's an example of it. He's leading the league in defensive rebounds and total rebounds. He is Mr. Rebound. He's the Dennis Rodman of the NBL this year.
And the tip in from Reggie off the Matty attempt. Matt Alexander tried to get it, wasn't going to fall. Reggie was there to tip it in, and the Rollers reply through Steve Woodbury.
I like that move. Rollers with 12 seconds left.
Sean Dennis went, held the ball up, waited and waited, saw Reggie Smith coming, and that is the end result. And a punch, fist in the air from Reggie to say, how'd you like that one, boys?
And now we have the chance for the three-point play, which, again, will even things up right on half-time. And he does it. Well done, Reggie Smith. 59-59. It's been a 31-point quarter for both sides. And there's an offensive foul. The foul's been called on Steve Woodbury. 59 apiece, 5 seconds left in it. Believe it or not, the Falcons could well go into half-time in front. 5 seconds. Sean Dennis is the money man. He takes the ball and he races for the bucket, and he spilt it. There's a no call, and that's half-time. 59 apiece here at the Newcastle Entertainment Centre. 63-62. The score changing hands, and the lead changes. Mike Johnson. Butch Hayes finds Reggie and Herzog, and he goes over the top, and it's in. So now the Falcons by 1, 64-63.
So strong under the bucket, Reggie Smith. Even when he has somebody on him, he so often just goes straight over the top. Uses that massive frame of his at the other end.
Mike Johnson.
Butch stands his ground.
He was only there about 10 seconds. He was there in plenty of time.
Clobbered. D'Ambrosis knew immediately that he was in the wrong.
And the score now 73 apiece. He's missed it himself. Yeah, he's hit it.
Kings tonight, they have a return bout in Sydney, but the first stop on their road trip was Newcastle last night.
The Rollers certainly came out all guns blazing, and it was very close early on. Reggie Smith pulled off a block in the first 30 seconds of the game, and then 2 dunks later in the first quarter, showing that he came to play both in offense and defense. Reggie Smith, oh, look at that. The scores were tied at the first break. D'Ambrosis showed he could dunk. Reggie Smith had another one left in him, and then pulled off a 3-point play with 12 seconds left in the half to tie the scores at halftime as well. Now they've gone for 2, and Reggie Smith has dunked all over the Rollers with 12 seconds left. Well, a lot of games are won and lost in the third quarter, and this game was no exception. Smith continued to pull off amazing blocks. Tony Jensen hit some big points, and D'Ambrosis cleaned Butch Hayes up with this. You're enjoying it. There's a very heavy charging foul. Tony D'Ambrosis flattens Butch Hayes. The Rollers were down at first in the third, but put on a 20-point turnaround. Peter Harvey helped the cause with this. Young Jonathan Harris had 3 foul shots with 2 seconds left in the term to give the Rollers a 14-point break. The final term wasn't good for the Falcons. Peter Hill found his mark from the 3-point line. Smith kept blocking. D'Ambrosis kept dunking. But when Hayes was fouled out, it was all over. Reggie Smith did it all for the Falcons, and Steve Woodbury, the Rollers' hot shot. A strong win to the Rollers, who continue their incredible record at Newcastle.
Well, Butch may have fouled out, but he was just 3 boards off a triple-double. 13 points, 10 assists and 7 rebounds. Reggie Smith had 15 boards, 5 assists, 3 blocks and 2 steals with his 34. Gold Coast shot 83% from the line to Newcastle 60%. That helped a lot. Now, before we present this week, was it play number 1? Long John with post-up perfection. The big fella's back and braining them. Play number 2, step up, Joey Wright with the high caliber cut to bite the bullets. And play number 3, the other Woodman, Steve Woodbury, lifting the Rollers to their first win for 95.
It's a challenge. You're watching Saturday basketball with Bill Woods.
Oh boy, well, Jojo is going to make Adelaide even better, and they were pretty good last night. The Kings were the whipping boys this week in the Mitsubishi Challenge. I don't think there's a record for liberating 2 winless clubs in the one road trip, but if there was, Sydney now holds it, so they hit Adelaide looking for the resurrection. What a tough place to do it.
Certainly restricted him.
Mike Dunlap certainly has the Sixers back in their groove. They won the first quarter 26-18. Bruce Bolden had 8 in the first quarter, but it slid from there. Scott Ninnis, he is in form, though, cutting through the key and getting 4 of his 13 in the first quarter. Another Mackay bomb coming up here. Dunlap's achieved tight defence and a shared workload in all facets of the game. Keogh had another big night for the Kings. Usually when he scores 20, Adelaide has the wood on them. Davis scores as they increase their lead steadily. Leon Trimmingham had a fairly good game. On his way to 27 points, gets inside with the pump fake. Scotty Ninnis again with the steal and breakaway. Typical play. He had 7 more points in the second quarter. Keogh brought up his 3,000th NBL point in that quarter. And we're going to show a little more Keogh scoring here. This time, starting on the perimeter, goes for the drive inside and really uncontested for the lay-in. But Adelaide too strong in all departments. There's the miss. Good rebounding there from Brenton and another Mackay 3. Also, Mark Davis, he had 10 boards and 5 assists to go with his 18 points. Adelaide up by 11 at the half. Trimmingham stayed out of foul trouble in the game. He had 4 in 46 minutes. Big D there from Mark Dalton. Typically vigorous defensive tactics, but you can't teach the Sixers how to play D. Rob Rose no longer burdened by scoring. He had help from everywhere as they blew out the difference to 19 at the third break. And the powerhouse loving it. The Kings chewed up a bit of that lead before the Sixers steadied the ship. And everyone who played for them last night scored. Yes, Mike Dunlap has spread all the stats, not only the scoring, but rebounds and assists. Tim Brenton had 15 points, Ninnis 13, etc., etc. And they're down 1 import. As I said, Jojo English still to come back. Adelaide's win, even more awesome, considering they shot only 12 of 32 three-pointers, which is down for them. The Kings shot 51% to 40% overall and still lost the game. Adelaide, of course, hasn't lost to the Kings since 1992 when Dwayne McLean, I think it was, sank a last...
The national coach is leaving no stone unturned in search of glory for the Boomers at next year's Atlanta Olympics.
You know, I want the players to know that I'm out and about, that I'm looking at their performance on a weekly basis, because I think we've got a great competition now in the NBL. It's fiercely competitive, and certainly players can progress in it, and that's really what we want for our national team.
The national coach was just one of the interested 9,000 spectators at the Brisbane Entertainment Centre.
He's seen the ball, really fakes and scores the 2.
He was mainly there keeping an eye on Bullets sharpshooter John Riley.
Riley from outside for a big 3. And took a while.
Oh, I don't know about that first shot there, but it was good to get that one out of the road. And you know, whether he was here to watch whoever, it's just, you just got to go out there and play the game for the Brisbane Bullets.
While Riley probably didn't save his best game for Barnes, the Boomers boss is well aware of the former Toowoomba player's talent.
He's always been renowned as a very good shooter, and I think you know, other aspects of his game has probably improved. And I think, you know, with coming here with Bruce, obviously he was a very demanding coach and demanding as far as defensive role. I think that's an area that the young man could probably learn a lot.
Bullets coach Bruce Palmer has already nominated Riley as a future national player. It's an honour Riley would cherish.
Sure, I think every young guy at this level always kind of thinks about it a little bit, but you know, the game tonight was for the Brisbane Bullets. It wasn't for the Australian Boomers. So, you know, if that comes from this game or, you know, from the season, well and good.
If Barnes is looking for another big man, maybe Andrew Goodwin can fill the bill.
Goodwin. They're all 7 foot of Andrew Goodwin, and he makes the most of it.
Barnes watched on as the former Boomers squad member made an impact from the bench, notching 16 points against the Cannons.
We see Goodwin once more working inside.
I've been in a couple of squads and a couple of tours, but my next goal is to actually crack the team.
The 23-year-old is currently playing his best basketball and is not about to give up his dream of representing his country.
Oh, definitely. I'm still aiming for the national team, but right at this point in time, my concentration is just doing the best job I can for the Bullets.
Barnes will continue to keep a close eye on all the fringe players in the NBL and also the coaches.
Part of my role now as the national coach is to go around the NBL clubs and see the players perform and also speak with the coaches because, you know, I'd like the coaches to believe that they have an input into our national team.
The Boomers will hopefully top off their Olympic preparation with another series against the Magic Johnson All-Stars. So just how are we shaping up for the Atlanta Olympics?
So far, so good.
On with the games. The Cannons returned from a bye to host the travelling Hawks at the Palace. Here's the action.
For the first time this season, the Canberra Cannons started as favourites to win at home. Illawarra not expected to be able to match the home team's all-round firepower on the road. The first half belonged to the Hawks, though, with Melvin Thomas dominating at both ends.
The Cannons.
Brandon takes 2.
Just hope for his sake he keeps... Oh, my goodness!
All the way with the Tomahawk Thomas. The Hawks led out by 10 before a late surge by the Cannons resulted with Fred Cofield getting his team to a 1-point lead, 56-55, right on the halftime hooter. The Cannons maintained their rush in the third quarter, with Cofield leading the way with an 11-point haul. Great work. 3 points. You see the Cannons slip out, but the Cannons looked on track for a win with a 9-point lead going down the home stretch. It was left to 19-year-old rookie Glenn Saville to provide the spark to get the visitors back in the game. Lifting their defensive pressure, Illawarra shut the Cannons down in the final quarter, allowing them just 14 points.
Going to grind away at it.
Chuck Armisen, he'll go all the way. Little hook shot at the end. Clock starts. Fred has to take a quick shot. Slammed in by Scales. Quickly up they come. The final score, a gritty 99-94 win to Illawarra.
Well, they're like Adelaide, the Hawks. They had 6 players in double figures. Canberra went to the foul line 20 times to Illawarra's 9, but they made only 3 more shots. That was a problem. Hawks outscored Canberra in the final quarter 28-14. Only 3 Cannons scored in that quarter. Cofield had 4, Borner 1, and Scales tried hard with 9.